Welcome to Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions that come up during today's episode, please text them to 424-378-6966. Please welcome the founder of Monster VoIP, your host, Colin Mitchell.
All right. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Larry Long of Teamworks. Larry and I are going to be talking about lead generation, team development, leadership, and his favorite, motivation for companies of all shapes and sizes. I'm Colin Mitchell, the host of Monster Chats and the founder of Monster VoIP. Larry Long Jr. is the Director of Collegiate Sales at Teamworks. Larry is an experienced sales leader with a demonstrated history of success in SaaS sales. He's extremely passionate about coaching and helping professionals take their game to the next level. Larry brings a unique perspective to the table and understands many of the challenges faced by the sales professionals. Larry, welcome to Monster Chats. How you doing?
Hey, happy to be here. Happy to be seen. Thanks so much, Colin.
All right, awesome, man. You're such a jokester playing that music when we hopped on here. You're always teasing me about leaving my wallet in El Segundo.
When I found out you were from El Segundo, I said, "Oh my goodness, Tribe Called Quest. Where's my wallet?" Oh, no.
I know. And those were, before he had the music queued up right before we got started. It was really nice. So Larry, I mean, you're an experienced sales professional with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that you can share with our audience. But before we get started, man, let's pull back the onion and tell us, where did Larry Long Jr. start? Where are you from? What was growing up as a kid? Give us the details, man.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this quick because I could write a book about my background, Colin. But born in Baltimore, Maryland, my parents worked for Department of Veterans Affairs. I grew up in VA hospitals, and I had the fortunate opportunity to travel around. We lived in Danville, Illinois, Grand Island, Nebraska, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where I had a Southern accent, moved to Coatesville, Pennsylvania, and they said, "Oh, you can't talk like that here." They put me in speech classes so that I could speak so well. But my hometown, what I claim, is Columbia, Maryland. Played baseball at University of Maryland, go Terps. And I've been down here in good old Raleighwood and Durham, North Carolina since 2004. So I guess I'm officially a North Carolinian, even though I still claim Maryland.
Okay. Interesting. So tell us about a little bit about your playing baseball years.
Oh, loved it, man. So my father, I grew up at the track, digging tunnels in the sand pit. My father was a long jumper, triple jumper. His nickname was Shorty Long. He was 5'0". So that means I'm about 5'0" as well. I'm 5'9", and I like to round up to 6 foot, which is a stretch. But I grew up playing baseball. I was the black sheep of the family, literally and figuratively. My dad ran track. My sister ran track. I'm playing baseball. They're like, "Baseball? What's that?" But really fortunate. Baseball as a team sport made up of many individuals. It just taught me so much about life skills. Being able to work in a team, being able to set goals and being able to work towards those goals, being able to take failure, accept failure, brush yourself off, and come back with the same, if not more, enthusiasm for that next at-bat, for that next opportunity, that next chance. And I look back at my baseball experiences, and essentially that is really what's made me to be exactly who I am, and just so privileged to have had that opportunity. I mean, team sports in general teach you so much.
Yeah. I mean, you could have went out for basketball at 5'0", right?
My name was Spud Webb or Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah. So, I mean, your sports, your involvement in sports and at the level that you played at, right? So that really set the foundation and gave you those life skills where it probably just made sense to go, just get right into sales after that, or tell us a little bit of how your career got started.
Graduated and went to spring training with the Dodgers and the Red Sox. Unfortunately, professional baseball didn't work out for me. And into the working world I went. Did some IT consulting with Accenture. Did that for a little over 3 years, and it was fun while it lasted. I realized that wasn't my passion.
Okay.
And that's really when I moved down to North Carolina, opened up an indoor baseball and softball academy, teaching youngsters the fundamentals of the game, fundamentals of life, and fundamentals is capital F-U-N. You got to have fun. And Colin, I've transitioned that into the sales world. When my business closed, we ran out of cash, and my parents bailed me out. And then they said, Larry, you're not big enough to fail. You're too big. We're not going to bail you out anymore. They said, we love you so much, we're going to let you transition out of the business. So that's what took me into the working world. And I've had 8 different stops at tech companies since my baseball academy. I've been at publicly traded companies, Intuit, my previous experience at Accenture. I've worked at mid-sized companies, channel advisor, but where I really love and my sweet spot is the startups. Love it. Just being able to have an impact, being able to move the dial, move the needle, and knowing that everything that I do, if you're employee number 8,750, it's kind of tough to make an impact. You still can, but when you're employee number 40, everything you do counts either on the positive side or on the negative side. So that's really my sweet spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So you're passionate about working with startups, but you have that well-rounded experience, right, from your IT consulting days of having that, technological experience of understanding technology from that, and then that teamwork and passion that you have from playing sports, and then to bring that to the business world. So tell me a little bit, and then also to work with companies all shapes and sizes, to have that experience where you can take some of the things that the big boys are doing and apply that at the startup, right?
Exactly. And let me just share with you my first experience out of college, Accenture, great company. The 2 big things, and there were a ton of key learnings, but the 2 major key learnings that I've taken with me throughout my career is, number 1, the details matter. And we all know that, but when you're under the gun, and my billing rate was upwards of $150 an hour. That's not what I was seeing, but that's certainly what the company was making off of me. You better make sure that you cross every T and dot every I, or else you're not going to be around for too long. The second thing that I learned is use all your available resources. Before you go to your superior, before you go to your manager, you better use your brain and think through to find a solution. And if you can't, you better go into the knowledge exchange. You better go on to Google, YouTube. There's so many resources out there. And if you can't find the answer on those resources, then you can level up. But those 2 lessons have really, they've stuck with me throughout my career, and they've really allowed me, because it's unbelievable how many people don't pay attention to details and how many people don't use their available resources. It's so easy to just say, hey, help me. Well, have you tried to help yourself?
So how do you apply that, when you're working with salespeople? Like, how do you get them to get on board? Like, hey, details matter, and be resourceful before you start raising your hand for help.
Yeah, well, you got to lead by example. And then it's kind of like baseball, repetition. So we've, in my business with Teamworks, we get plenty of reps. And essentially, I'm riding along. I'm listening in. I'm taking notes. I'm a big fan of the plus delta. Hey, here goes some things that you did well. Here goes some areas of opportunity. And here goes some things, some tangible things, actions that you can take, and words that you can use the next time you're faced with the situation. So I'm a big believer that feedback is a gift. And I'm open to feedback. I try to hire for folks that have this learning mentality, this growth mentality. This if you already have it all figured out and you know it all, then we probably shouldn't be working together. Actually, my advice is you should probably retire. It's kind of like sports. If you're already you're already at the top of your game and there's no areas for improvement,
Yeah, we've all seen it, especially in the business world. We call those the people that are not teachable, right?
That's right. That's right.
And not because we're not willing to teach them, but because they're not willing to be taught, right? The more that you show that you're willing to be taught and be open-minded to learning things and being acceptance of feedback, right? Because self-awareness is huge. If I don't know that I'm doing something that I could do better, or I need to stop doing something, then I can't improve. So it's really just, providing that constructive, criticism rather, or that feedback, right? Feedback is not, there's feedback is good, whether it's something positive or negative. It either tells me I'm doing something good. And this comes from my friend, Coach Steve, who I talked to recently, and he's big on self-awareness. He calls that the superpower. Once you can be really in tune with being self-aware of what you're doing good and what you need to improve, then, you can go to the next level.
For sure. And being that this is the BS free zone, I'm going to keep it real with you. So many people think that they're self-aware. So many people say, oh, I welcome feedback. There's a saying that says your actions speak so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. I'm going to keep it real. A lot of people talk a good game, but we all know that saying ain't doing. So for me, it's kind of like Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Show me what you're working with. Yeah. If you're really open to feedback, then let's see that progression. Let's see that improvement. Let's see those tangible changes versus me, kind of like with my kids. I got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I have to continuously reinforce. And at their young age. But as a professional, you better show and prove, or else we might be looking at a different opportunity. We might not be able to work together.
Can you say that one more time just for the slow learners?
I'm going to write it in my book so they can read it. But it's so important. I mean, it's saying ain't doing. You really have to deliver and change actions and change behavior, which is so tough. But that's why I love working with athletes. I love working with athletes because they've been coached their whole lives. And a lot of times they've been coached hard. You talked about constructive feedback. I've had coaches that they gave feedback. It wasn't constructive, but I knew exactly what they were saying.
All right. So I'm just gonna say it then. So these athletes, right? They're used to getting yelled at, cursed at, the salespeople, right? Would you say they're a little soft on getting feedback?
I would have to agree. But I mean, people are people. Some people are open to it and willing to make change. Others are kind of stuck in their way. And if you're stuck in your way and you just have a fixed mindset, a fixed process, and you're not open to possibly improving. And I'll tell you, Colin, I don't have all the answers, but I've seen some stuff throughout my career. And if you're not open to at least trying it, then we can't work together. We can grab a drink together. We can chop it up and have fun, but you're not going to be on my team. And I'm pretty strict about that. The folks on my team are those that are driven. I don't know if you've been watching The Last Dance, but that's been awesome to see Michael Jordan and his leadership style. And he said, hey, I had to pay. There's a cost to be the boss, and you're not going to make friends everywhere. My wife said, ooh, no one really liked him. And hey, you if you're looking to win, everyone's not going to like you.
Right. And so let's go back for a second, right? So you said, so you got to be open to learning, open to receiving feedback, and be able to be resourceful, right? So you're not always just asking for help. And so, one of the biggest challenges for a lot of salespeople is obviously prospecting and lead generation. So, how do you work with people in that, activity?
Yeah, there's so many moving pieces. It's kind of like my golf swing. I don't know if you've seen Charles Barkley swing a golf club, but it's pretty miraculous and ridiculous all in the same thing. Same thing with prospecting. I mean, I'm a big believer that when you talk about prospecting, you're mining for gold. You're looking for those folks that can be a fit. And really you can deliver value. So I think the first thing is knowing who your target audience is. I think they call that your ICP. And after you've identified that, now you have to understand, how am I going to approach them? What is the approach? What do I say? Do I use the phone? Do I use email? Do I use social? Do I get creative and mail a handwritten note? Do I leverage referrals? Do I use video? There are so many different components to it, and it really varies by industry, but there's some basic fundamentals in terms of reaching out and prospecting to someone, and it starts with value and true value. We throw out this word of value, but ultimately what I mean is, what can I do for you? Because my favorite radio station is WIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And when you reach out to someone, that's probably at the forefront of their mind. Hey, Colin, what's in it for me? Why are you reaching out to me? What do you have that's going to improve my life, my business, my colleagues, and what's important to me? And if you're talking about you, I call that being a me monster. If you're a me monster, you're going to have a very challenging time in this profession called sales. Sales is already tough enough. But if you're all about that person in the mirror, good luck. If you're about the person on the other side and really stepping into their shoes and understanding what's important to them, what are their challenges, what are their goals, hopes, dreams, aspirations, then you're going to have a lot smoother, a lot easier time. And that's just from my experience right there, is making it about them through everything that you do and being genuine. It's not one of those things where you can fake it till you make it. People can smell BS from a mile away.
Yeah. My friend Larry Levine calls it commission breath.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. So you said a lot of things there, right? So prospecting, there's all these different mediums that we can reach out to them. I'm a component of use them all. I think so many people today, they pin themselves as I'm the social seller. So I'm all in on LinkedIn and I don't use the phone, so I think using them all where they're best suited, right? If your prospect is active on LinkedIn, engage with their contact and drop them a DM. If it's somebody who's not active on LinkedIn, then you should be calling them. What's the age of your prospect? Maybe send them a text message. It just depends on, you said you got to know your audience, but then you got to use all these mediums. You can't just go all in on one or a couple. They're all there and use them wisely. Do you agree with that?
Oh, totally agree. You've got to go where your prospects are, and you can't be single threaded. If all you do is make phone calls, some people, they don't pick up the phone. Yeah. If all you do is send emails, some people don't respond to emails. So like you said, multi-channels, multi-threaded to be able to impact your prospects and get their attention so that you have the opportunity to deliver value. You have the opportunity for a dialogue to understand where they might be today and where they're hoping to go. That's all you're trying to do. When I think about prospecting, is that opportunity, getting my foot in the door by hook or by crook. And essentially, I'm going to find what works best, and I'm going to continue to iterate, because what works best for these folks might not work best for those folks.
So yeah, title determines that, geography determines that, industry, all of these things, right? So knowing your prospect, knowing your messaging, and knowing what channel you need to reach them at.
Exactly. And I'll be frank with you, Colin. When I hire folks, I look for folks that are willing to up-level their knowledge amongst, I call it 5-star. In basketball, you got a 5-tool player. Baseball, you got a 5-tool player. In sales, I believe that you better understand your company. You better understand the industry. You better understand your product. You better understand the resources, whether that's internal resources, external resources, and then you better be tight on selling skills. And I'm a big believer that sales is a skill that you got to continue to improve. There's always areas for improvement within your selling process. And if you're about that life, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So when you're looking for, to add people to your team, is there anything unique you do in the process, the interviewing process, or is there anything specific that you look for where you got that 5-star?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, I'm looking for past history. I'm a big believer that your past, and it doesn't have to be in sales. Some people say, you got to have SaaS software sales experience. No, some of my best reps. I mean, one of them, Jack, he was a swim coach. He came from coaching swimming. He was a walk-on in college, which tells me a lot, to walk on and earn a scholarship. But I'm looking for that internal grit. But essentially what I look for is called EPIC. E is entrepreneurial spirit. P is preparation and planning. Are you ready? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. The I is that internal drive and desire where nothing's going to hold me down. When you throw an obstacle, I'm going to find a way over it, under it, around it. And if I have to, Colin, I'm going to go right through it. And then the C is communication. But I'm also looking for the other C's. Curiosity. Are you just naturally curious? Are you confident? Kevin Hart says it best. say it with your chest. If you don't have that confidence, and you don't have to be, I've had the debate many times, extrovert, introvert. You don't have to be an extrovert to be confident in knowing your stuff. And that just comes through a lot of times, not really what you say, but how you say it.
Oh, yeah. I'm a firm believer of that. I would even say that how you say it's more important than what you say.
Exactly.
And so, okay, that's awesome. That's some good stuff right there. So tell me, so you're more interested in their personal journey and story rather than their experience or what companies or what awards that they've won. You're more experienced for that grit. And did they do the research? Are they prepared? The difference when somebody did their research and they show up to the interview, and you know somebody who didn't. If they're asking questions that they should already know, then bam, kick them out.
Exactly.
So you look for those type of things to really separate the winners from, I don't know, what do we want to call the rest of them?
all others. And I'll tell you, it's super tough because everyone brings their representative. It's just like any relationship. They bring their representative to the interview, but essentially it's our job to peel back the onion and really dig deep and look for those examples of when they've exhibited those actions in the past that are going to contribute to success in the future.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about coaching your sales team and some of your strategies around that. We've talked a little bit about the feedback. Let's dig a little deeper into Larry Long Jr. coaching a sales team.
I love it. I mean, it's just like Larry Long Jr. coaching a baseball team, basketball team. Your players, your reps, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And once again, Colin, it comes down to actions speaking so loud. A lot of people talk a good game, but do you really care about me as an individual? And if you don't, then I'm not going to give you my best. I'm going to be self-serving. For us, we do a thing called a journey line to really get to understand folks' personal journey, their professional journey, both the highs and the lows, to understand what makes them who they are, because everyone's an individual. Once again, going into The Last Dance, Phil Jackson is a genius. He knew that he couldn't coach Dennis Rodman the same way that he coached B.J. Armstrong. He knew that. And it's the same thing in sales leadership. You've got a lot of individuals with individual personalities, individual experiences and needs, and it's your job as the leader to find out what is that person all about. It's really internal selling. Yeah. I'm a big believer that selling is a matchmaker. You're matching your products, your services, your thoughts or ideas with someone else's needs, wants, desires, hopes, dreams, aspirations, and challenges. And if you're able to make that match, then that's where the magic happens.
Okay. So, and we've seen it before, the sales manager that try to apply this cookie cutter, coaching method, thinking that it's going to work for everybody, and it doesn't. Everybody's different. Everybody, what makes them tick and get up in the morning and their why is different. And you got to know that to be able to tap into it to coach them properly.
That's right. And it's just like sales. How do you do that? You got to have conversation. You got to have authentic conversation and really be committed to understanding who your reps are. Because like you said, the no BS, this is a BS free zone. People can smell BS from a mile away. Yeah. They can tell whether you're serious or whether you're just faking it.
Oh, yeah.
That does more harm than good. Just tell people, I don't really care about you. Let's go ahead and hit our numbers. That's not my style. It's like, hey, together everyone achieves more. I know it's hokey, but that's what team stands for. Let's go ahead and do it. And here goes my why. I want to understand your why. What are you hoping to accomplish? What's your plan? And how can I help? And how can I empower and enable you to get to where you want to get to?
Okay. So, and, and sales reps all have, sometimes they get to a certain level and it's harder to get them to the next level, or it's really a struggle just to get them to that level. So how do you keep them motivated? What are some of your strategies?
Motivation. So, I mean, I've always got a smile on my face, Colin. Anytime, and that comes from, I'm just grateful to be alive. Every day that I'm here, that's a blessing. So that's not how everyone feels. And I can't change that.
Let's go back up for a second. Have you always been like that? Or is there something in your life that happened that just made you be so grateful to just be breathing?
Yeah, my entire life. I mean, when I was 4 years old, I still remember this. Going to bed, my mom used to make me say, I am somebody 10 times. I am somebody. And it was just that spirit. We didn't have much growing up, but I didn't know that. My parents were always happy. My dad grew up in Baltimore City. I'm sure you've seen The Wire. That's the essentially the neighborhood that he grew up in, the projects.
Wow.
Mom grew up in Baltimore County, but essentially they set their mind and they took action to make a better life for their family and for their kids. And I'm grateful for that. And my dad, he passed away 4.5 years ago. He's passed the baton on to me. And essentially he said, Junior, little Larry, it's your time to really make a better life for your family. And then you got to pass that baton on. So I've just been grateful every day. I'm grateful. I have a gratefulness journal. It's one line. Just every day I'm writing one line of what I'm grateful for. And there's so much. I mean, it's tough for me to keep it to one line. And normally I cheat. I put multiple things, but there's just so much. Even in a pandemic, which we're going through right now, which isn't good. Let's call a spade a spade. It is bad. But if you look at it through the lens of I'm healthy, I've got my family, I've got my friends, I've got a career. I have the opportunity to be able to go on to LinkedIn, to go on to Google, go on to YouTube, and I can learn anything that I want to learn. And then I can take those learnings and apply it to my life, apply it to my business. You can't ask for anything better than that, Colin.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a bad situation. I thankfully have a lot to be grateful for, like yourself, and have been able to stay really positive throughout. Like it's slowed us all down, and I've seen a lot of people, leaning into family, and I got 3 kids myself, young ones, and they're my 2 oldest are already starting to get into sports, and I coach and all that, and so weekends are busy, and me and my wife trying to make time for each other and get the errands done, and it's been like, when all this first started, it's like, man, this is nice. We have nothing to do. And then my wife is just, she's at home teaching the kids how to tie their shoes, getting the little one potty trained, working on letters and alphabet. And just, I've been able to be so much more present and enjoy the kids because we're not on the go, go, go. And so you got to look for those small wins in life every day. And then, I love what you said about the gratitude, journal, because I think what a lot of people miss out on is being successful professionally is a personal inside journey. When you're taking care of yourself personally, you go to the next level professionally.
So true. And everything you said there, I love it. Motivation, gratitude, it's a choice. And essentially, I had a colleague of mine who said, make it a great day. It's your choice. And when we wake up, we have a choice. Do we want to make it a great day and focus on the positives, or do we want to be woe is me? And I had a sales rep of mine who told me, hey, Larry, in every situation, you have a choice. And he said, I choose to look for the good, the great, and the wonderful out of anything that happens to me, which I absolutely love. It's like, hey, my house burned down. That's terrible. But what's the good? I'm alive. What's the great? I'm here with my family. What's the wonderful? Hey, this is going to get taken care of. Hopefully we had insurance and we're able to build an even better crib. But I mean, it's so tough, but that's really what, from my perspective, that's what it takes to really enjoy this 4-letter word we call life.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, it's perspective, right? So perspective depends on how you decide to look at things. And that really sets the foundation to, having a happy life. So how do you keep your reps motivated? Because I can't imagine, I mean, do they all have Larry Long Jr. energy or what?
Nah, we'd be in trouble if they all had Larry Long energy. We would. I don't know if anyone has that. But nah, it's essentially we hire for reps that are internally driven, and I've got reps on my team that are quiet. They're calm, they're cool, they're collected, but they're confident, and they're driven by something inside of them. They want to improve each and every day, and that's who we try to hire. Now, have we had people sneak in? Yes, I've made mistakes before, but what you do is you make the best of the situation, and you really try to find what inspires each of your reps. What are they about? What are they trying to accomplish? So, I mean, it's not, I can't say that we have twice a week meetings, so they get to see my face on Zoom. But if you're relying on me for your motivation, we're in trouble. If you don't have that motivation from within, and I'll be honest with you, Colin, I've yet to meet someone. I mean, Tony Robbins is one of the best in the business, but can he really motivate somebody? I mean, essentially, he probably can, but eventually that's going to fade away. He can't be with them 24/7. So I'm a big believer that if you surround yourself with positive people, I think they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with positive messages, whether that's books, whether it's podcast content, whether it's videos, whatever it is, if it's not positive, chances are you're going to have a tough time being positive from within. So I make a choice. I try to provide resources to my team. Hey, here goes some things that you should check out. Here goes some content, some videos that I find inspiring, and hopefully that'll help. But we're all motivated by different things.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Hey, man, it's been awesome chopping it up with you. Really appreciate you coming on here. Welcome to the Monster Chats community. But before we let you go, just tell folks where they can find you, where they can connect with you if they want to, follow you or find out more about what you do.
Hey, I appreciate that, Colin. I'm totally accessible on LinkedIn. If you look up Larry Long Jr., there's no mistaking that I've got the face for radio. So you'll recognize with the big cheesy smile that I've got in my profile pic who I am, and I'm certainly happy to connect with anyone.
Awesome. Appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and we're listening. We want to hear your feedback. The show is all about you.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions from today's show and want to reach us directly, please text your question to 424-378-6966.